Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So I honestly meant to film this video at the very beginning of January and I just didn't, so we're doing it now. So for today's video I figured we could go through my physical TBR. I'll show you every single book that is on my TBR. I kind of wanted to make this video as a time capsule so I can see if I am making progress in actually reading books off of my TBR and like cycling them instead of leaving the same books constantly month after month, year after year on my physical TBR. So I just said TBR like a billion times. So I figured I would go through my entire physical TBR, and then I also just got a TBR cart from Target. I decided to buy one because I feel like part of the reason why I'm not really picking up books that have been on my TBR for a while is because they are hard to get to since I have my physical TBR sitting in stacks. And so everything that's at the bottom of the stack tends to be ignored because it's just so difficult to get to. So I'm going to put some of my books on this cart. I highly doubt that all of those are going to fit on this cart, but I figured I can set this up, and while I set this up, we can kind of just yap about things that have been going on. First, let's go through and open this up and start setting things up. Okay, I finally got this separated and open. So let's try. So while I have an extensive physical TBR, which you can clearly see behind me, I also read a little bit on my tablet. I do read some ebooks, and I had been reading my ebooks on an old Samsung tablet that I had from when I was a kid, but recently that tablet's battery life just has not been maintaining. The tablet is like 15 years old, so it's kind of understandable. But there was one time where I had charged it all night, unplugged it and turned it on, and it went from 90% to like 30%, 60% or something like that. And it was really, really weird. It went from like 90% to 30% so quickly. And so I figured that that meant it was probably time to get myself a new book, a new tablet to read. And I decided to go with a Kobo. I think it's called the Clara Color, but it looks like this. It's really small, very compact. I honestly like it a lot. I wasn't very sure about it at first, just because the screen was a bit different from reading on my tablet from before, but that honestly just took some getting used to. I just finished my first book on there, and after reading on it for a few days, the screen honestly feels better. It kind of mimics paper, but electronically, I guess. And so depending on what brightness I had the settings at, it hurt my eyes, but I think I've adjusted the settings to make it good. The thing that I really don't like about Kobo is that every time I hold down and highlight a word to try to get the definition for it, the screen flashes black and white before bringing up the page that tells the like dictionary definition. And I don't know why it does that. I thought that it did that at first because I was reading it on dark mode, but even when I switched out of dark mode, it still flashes. Like the weird flashing every time I touch the screen is really irritating. See, I don't know if you could see this. Especially with anything with an image in it, it flashes. So like if I start on a cover and then I click the next one, it like flashes really weird and I don't like it. It kind of stresses me out a little bit. But other than that, reading on this isn't too bad. Did I put it on wrong? Oh no, I'm just stupid. I think the other complaint that I have for Kobo is transferring over like EPUBs and ARCs that I have. I thought that would be easier than it is because like NetGalley, when I first looked, it said NetGalley said that they transferred straight to Kobo, this way that they send straight to Kindle. But I realized since getting my Kobo that that is limited to specific publishers, specific books. And then for Book Sirens, I usually download it. I usually download an EPUB directly onto my tablet, but for Kobo, I have to download it onto my laptop first and then transfer it onto my Kobo instead of just being able to do it directly. So I'm not really a fan of that extra step, but I do like the feeling of the Kobo better. I think it's the fact that it's more compact makes it easier for me to read than on the tablet I was reading. I've never had a Kindle, so I can't really compare it to that one. Yeah, I do like it so far. It took a few days to get used to, but I am liking it. The first book that I read on my Kobo was an ARC. I'll save my actual thoughts on this book for my wrap-up video whenever I eventually do that. But I unfortunately didn't like this book. It really got me thinking. Does anyone else have this problem when they're reading ARCs, especially when you're reading ARCs for like indie or self-published books and you don't like it? Do you ever just feel really bad? Like the book that I was reading was a completely self-published book, and I honestly just feel so bad reviewing it because I didn't like it, and I don't want to be the one review on there. I don't want to be the one review on like Goodreads or Storygraph for this book and it be a bad book and it be a bad review. And so I'm like, should I just not post my reviews on those if I don't like the book? But then I also kind of feel like to be a reviewer with good integrity, you have to be able to post both good and bad reviews. Because otherwise, if you're not sharing the bad reviews of books, being able to do this and talk at the same time is so difficult. I feel like to be a true reviewer, you have to post the good and bad reviews. But I also feel so bad posting bad reviews on indie books, self-published books, books that just aren't going to get the same publicity and traction that traditionally published books are going to get. And so this book that I was reading is a completely self-published book. So I feel bad saying that I didn't like it. So yeah, I don't know what the etiquette is for ARC stuff and like what to do. So far, my policy has been if I finish the book, I will post my review on Goodreads, on Storygraph, or wherever. But if I DNF it, then I won't. I will just give my review on the feedback website. I don't know if that's what I'm supposed to do. I don't know the right way to be doing this, but that's kind of what I've been up to. Or that's kind of what I've been doing. So let me know what you guys think, because I don't know what the right method of this is, to be honest. I was going to talk in Yap, but this is so difficult, and I am sure that most of this audio is going to be completely unusable just because of all the clanging from this cart. So I am going to stop here and just put the rest of these shelves in and then come back and talk to you with my physical TBR. Okay, I have officially finished building my TBR cart. And now I think it's time to just go through, stock the cart, and show you guys what is on my physical TBR. First, we're going to start with my February TBR. The first book on it is The 5 Stages of Courting Delisai Ramos. That is currently in my work bag, and I don't feel like getting up to get it, but that's book number 1. We have 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult. The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Cordova. Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. The Sirens by Amelia Hart. Those are my February TBR. Then we'll just go stack by stack. So first we have the books in unfinished series. We have Legendborn and Bloodmarked. by Tracy Dion, the collector's editions of The Poppy War and The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang, Silver Elite by Danny Francis, The Games Gods Play and The Things Gods Break by Abigail Owen, Better in Black by Cassandra Clare, Bark of the Everflame and Glow of the Everflame, both by Penn Cole, and then Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. Then in our finished series count, I won't count the Mortal Instrument series because I have already read these. I'm going through a reread right now. We have basically the entire Villains series by Serena Valentino. So that is Fairest of All, Poor Unfortunate Souls, Mistress of All Evil, Mother Knows Best, The Odd Sisters, Evil Thing, and Cold Hearted. Also, in our completed series stack, I have all 3 books in the Belladonna series by Adeline Grace. So that's Belladonna, Foxglove, and Wisteria. I have the Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare, which is Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. I have the paperback editions of the Poppy War trilogy. So that's the Poppy War, the Dragon Republic, and the Burning God. I have the Legend trilogy by Marie Lu. So Legend, Prodigy, and Champion. And then I have the entire Redwall series by Brian Jacques. So that is Redwall, Mossflower, Matameo, Mariel of Redwall, Salamandastron, and Martin the Warrior. Then from there, we have all of my paperbacks. Lord of the Flies and Animal Farm are both rereads. I have A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman, Comfort and Joy by Kristen Hanna, Holiday Romance by Catherine Walsh, The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez, Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe, One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune, The Color Purple by Alice Walker, and My Sister the Serial Killer by Ayoinkan Braithwaite, Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan, Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams, The Saturday Night Ghost Club by Craig Davison, Babel by R.F. Kuang, Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Booley, Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, The Pairing by Casey McQuiston, Hollow Fires by Samira Ahmed, Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, The Impusium by Olga Dorkajuk, Passion Project by London Sperry, Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt, The Seven Moons of Mali Almeida by Shihan Garunatilaka, Life of Pi by Jan Martel, Burial Rites by Hannah Kent, The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, So Let Them Burn by Camilla Cole, which I think should be in my unfinished series pile, actually. Circe by Madeline Miller, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee is a reread, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, Dava Shastri's Last Day by Kirtana Ramasati, Outside the Lines by Amy Hatvani, Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes, Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney, and Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Malore. Then in the hardbacks, we're just really stacking piles into piles here. In the hardbacks, we have The Survivor Wants to Die at the End by Adam Silvera, Malinali by Veronica Chapa, If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan, Blue Sisters by Coco Malore, The Bombshell by Daryl Farr, Under the Same Stars by Libba Bray, When You Wish Upon a Lantern by Gloria Chow, The Passengers on the Hangyu Line by Hiro Arigawa, Catabasis by R.F. Kuang, My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante, Good and Evil and Other Stories by Samantha Schweblin, The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark, Before I Forget by Tori Henwood Hohen, The Wedding People by Allison Espach, The Guardian by Nicholas Sparks, Go the Distance by Jen Kalanita, The Feral Detective by Jonathan Lethem, On the Come Up by Angie Thomas, The Truth About White Lies by Olivia A. Cole, James by Percival Everett, This Is My America by Kim Johnson, The Epic Story of Every Living Thing by Deb Coletti, These Summer Storms by Sarah McLean, The Queens of New York by E.L. Shen, and A Heart and a Body in the World by Deb Coletti. Those are all of my fiction books. Then we still have a stack over here for nonfiction. Then in our nonfiction stack, I have Behind the Mirror by Taryn Armstrong, Forensics by Val McDermott, Quiet by Susan Kane, Cultish by Amanda Montell. I actually just finished The Escape Artist on audio, so this doesn't belong here anymore. Humble by Daryl Van Tongeren. The 100 Years War on Palestine by Rashid Khalidi. Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. This America of Ours by Nate Schweber. 3 different Tagalog learning books. Why People Believe Weird Things by Michael Shermer. Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. A History of the Philippines by Louis H. Francia. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. No One Asked for This by Cassie David. The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. 2 copies of Some People Need Killing by Patricia Evangelista. Atomic Habits by James Clear. Classical Mythology by H.A. Gwerba. America's Deadliest Election by Dana Bash. And finally, Reef Life by Callum Roberts. That is everything that is on my physical TBR. I wasn't counting, but I'll put the total number on the screen here somewhere for you. The first books that are going to be on the cart are my monthly TBR. I think that makes the most sense. But then from there, I think I should put books that satisfy prompts for Herkiad up towards the top so that I remember to read them, so that I prioritize them, remember to read them, all of that. So let's see here. One thing I know for sure that I need to put up there is One Golden Summer. I don't remember which pile that is in. One Golden Summer for sure has to be up there. I have to read that book. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Another book that has to be on the top shelf is Under the Same Stars. This fulfills an award season prompt as well as a couple others. I need to put The Color Purple up here for the play. I can also put Life of Pi in there as another play option. Translation challenge. I need to read Good and Evil. I need to read The Impusium. For South America, that one's already up here. Make a quote. I need to read On the Come Up by Angie Thomas, because that fulfills a quote. And then Blue Sisters by Coco Malore also fulfills my quote prompt. And then I think that is everything that's like must read, but I probably won't reach for automatically. So that's everything that's on my top shelf. I still have a little bit of space here, so I might just put in a couple other books that fulfill prompts, but that I might not necessarily read. I have Beg, Borrow, or Steal, and then I will put the next book in the Shadowhunters universe up here. So that's the first row completely done. I think on the second row, I'll put books that have been on my TBR a while. Second row, done. These are mainly books that are sitting on my Read It or Weep spinner wheel. So these are all just books that have been on my TBR for a hot minute. Then on this bottom shelf, I think for the bottom shelf, I'm going to put books that I'm like kind of interested in, but are more recent purchases, probably. So I put a bunch of books that I was definitely more interested in. I still have a ton of space down here. I think what I'm gonna do is put the books in a series, because I feel like I tend to ignore my series piles. When I'm picking out books, just because I like to read my series back to back, and it gets very daunting staring at the entire series. So I will put the first book in each of my series on the cart. The first book of each of my finished series, I should say, because I refuse to be left on a cliffhanger and then sitting and waiting for the next book to come out. Legendborn and Bloodmarked are just going to be waiting, but we can put Legend on here. We can put The Poppy War. Let's open up Belladonna. I think that works. Okay, let me stack everything back up against my wall. I do have room on the back here, but I don't know if I want to stack more books on. It's not going to do much. Like, I'm just not going to see them on the back. I'm just going to leave the back empty for other things. And then I'll just stack up my books and we'll do a last look. This is our new TBR setup. We have our remaining stacks here, our series, paperback, hardcovers, and nonfiction. That is our unfinished series pile. And then here is where I have all of the priority stuff. I have a combination of the Herkiad ones, which are the most important, the books that have been on my TBR the longest, which is the second most important, and then the bottom shelf are things that I am just interested in reading that honestly won't take much pushing, theoretically, won't take much pushing to read. That is the end of this video. It was kind of chaotic and all over the place, but I hope you guys enjoyed. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If there are any books in my physical TBR that you would like to see in a reading vlog, let me know down below. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!